friends, welcome back to Chinese history and mythology. In the last episode, we left Zhang in the middle of a political storm where insiders and outsiders were all tangled together. At the heart of it were three people: Duke Li of Zun, his chief minister Gongzi, and Gongzi's son-in-law Yangju. Their power struggle was getting more and more dangerous and was already very close to spinning out of control. Gongzi had held the real power in Zen for a long time. Duke Li felt pressed down and frustrated and had wanted to get rid of him for a long time. Yangju was both Gongzi's son-in-law and an ambitious climber who wanted to move up. The two men hit it off. They decided to set a trap in the eastern suburbs, host a banquet, and use poisoned wine to kill Gongzi. No one expected that the real weak point would come from inside Yangju's own home. Yangju got drunk and let the secret slip to his wife. She was shaken awake by one sentence from her mother: "A father is closer than a husband." She turned around and told her father Gongzi the entire plan in full detail. On the appointed day, Gongzi went out fully prepared. He brought guards and picked warriors with him. As soon as the wine hit the ground and showed clear signs that it was poisoned, he gave one command: "Do it." Yangju was cut down on the spot, and his body was thrown into a pond. On Duke Li's side, he had also planted his own fighters in the eastern suburbs. They were supposed to help Zhongju strike before they could make a move. Gongzi and his men swept through first, dragged them out of hiding, and killed most of them. Once Yangju was dead, the whole plot could not be hidden anymore. When Duke Li heard what had happened, he was terrified. He grabbed his things and ran straight to the state of Dakai, because he knew very clearly that if Gongzi could kill his own son-in-law, then the next person on the list would certainly be him. Gongzi, on the other hand, heard that Duke Li had already fled the country, and wasted no time. He remembered the vow he had made years ago to the deposed ruler, Duke Zhou of Xing, who he had promised to find a way to put him back on the throne. Now he sent Gongfu Dingshu as envoy to Wei to invite Duke Zhou back and restore him as ruler of Xing. Then he announced to the civil and military officials of Zheng, "Back then, I promised Duke Zhou that I would bring him back to the throne. Now he is ruler again. I have not broken my word." This is where we paused last time. On the surface, Zhang looks stable again, but everyone can see that after so many rounds of infighting, foreign threats, betrayal, and flight, the troubles in Zhang are not going to end here. Today, we pick up the story and move to another state and another mess. This time, we are going to look at a very chaotic and very dramatic story that takes place in Wei, in a period when the ruler was loose, indulgent, and had no sense of limits at all. The main figure here is Duke Xuan of Wei. Even when he was still a prince, before he became ruler, he was already very wild. He did many things he should never have done. The worst of them all was that he slept with one of his own father's concubines. Jiang was originally his father's woman. The two of them secretly had an affair and even had a child together. That child is Gongzi, the key person in this story. To hide the scandal, they sent Gongzi away. As soon as he was born, he was fostered and raised in a commoner's household. Later, Duke Xuan inherited the throne and became ruler of Wei. After he became ruler, he did not change. He did not like his official wife, Lady Xing, and only loved Jiang. He treated Jiang like his true wife. He doted on her and promised that one day Gongzi would inherit the throne of Wei. He entrusted this plan to a high minister at court, Gongzi. He told him to make sure that after his own death, he would help Gongzi succeed to the throne, as planned. Gongzi slowly grew up. When he turned 16, Duke Xuan arranged a marriage for him. His fiancée was the eldest daughter of Duke Shi of Qi on paper. This was a very good match between two states. Qi agreed as well. The problem started with one thought in Duke Xuan's own mind. One day he sent an envoy to Qi. When the envoy came back, he said a fatal sentence. He said, "The eldest daughter of Duke, she is an unmatched beauty." As soon as Duke Xuan heard this, his mind shifted. He suddenly felt that if such a girl married Gongzi, he himself would feel unwilling and jealous. He wanted the girl for himself but could not say so directly, so he began to scheme. He came up with a very dark plan. He ordered craftsmen to build a luxurious and beautiful palace along the Qi River. He named this palace Xintai, the New Terrace. When the terrace was ready, he found an excuse to send Gongzi away as envoy to the state of Song. As soon as Gongzi left, he sent Zhou Gongzi to Qi to escort the eldest daughter to Xintai. When the bride arrived at Xintai, Duke Xuan went up the terrace himself and held a wedding with her. He not only stole his own son's fiancée, he took this woman as his own concubine and gave her the name Xuanjiang. Many people who witnessed this felt sick. They wrote a poem to mock him. In that poem, they used the names Kuchu and Kishi to compare Duke Xuan, calling him ugly and disgusting in very harsh words. Later historians recorded that these two sisters became notorious. The eldest sister, Jiang, is the one Duke Xuan has just stolen. The second sister, Jiang, in the later story, will have an incestuous relationship with her own brother. So some people sighed and said, Duke Xi's two daughters managed to overturn all proper family morals in both Qi and Wei. Now let us go back to Wei. After Gzi came back from Song, he followed the proper ritual. He went up to Xintai to pay a visit to his new aunt, Jiang. Do not forget that Jiang was supposed to have been his wife. Yet Gzi did not explode. He did not hold resentment on his face. He behaved politely and respectfully, in a very correct way. Duke Xuan, on the other hand, was very pleased with himself now that he had Jiang. He threw Jiang aside and ignored her. He lived with Jiang on the new terrace and stayed there for 3 full years. During those 3 years, Jiang gave him 2 sons. One was Gongzi Shuo, and the other was Gongzi Shuo. Here we have an old saying, when the mother is loved, the child gains status. Because Duke Xuan loved Jiang so much, he slowly moved all the favor that had once been for Jiang onto Jiang's sons. In his heart he thought, when I die, I want the throne to go to Gongzi Shuo, or Gongzi Shuo. Only then will I feel at ease. Once he started thinking like this, he began to feel that Gzi was extra and in the way. The only thing that slowed him down was Gongzi Shou's nature. Gongzi Shou is gentle, kind, and honest by temperament. He and Gzi were very close, almost like real brothers. He often spoke for Gzi in front of his parents and helped protect him. So Duke Xuan never openly proposed stripping Gzi of his status as heir. Gzi himself was also gentle and modest. He followed the rules, behaved properly, and never gave offense on the surface. He did not look threatening, so Duke Xuan held back and did not act against him yet. In secret, though, he had already told Zhou Gongzi that once he died, Shuo should be the one to succeed him. The longer this dragged on, the more complicated the situation became. Now we turn to Gongzi Shuo. Although Shuo was born of the same mother as Shuo, his personality was entirely different from childhood. He was cunning and sly because his mother was favored. His ambition grew very large. He secretly gathered followers and prepared himself for a future struggle over the throne. He saw Gzi as a rival he needed to remove. He even wanted to get rid of his own elder brother Gongzi Shuo. He knew he had to deal with things step by step, so he set killing Gzi as step 1. Gongzi Shuo often spoke to his mother Jiang and tried to stir up her fear. He said, Father may love us, but Gzi is still the eldest son. He is the older brother. We are the younger ones in the line of succession. He comes first, and think about this. You fought with Jiang for favor and took her place. She will always hate you if Gzi becomes ruler. Jiang will become queen mother when that day comes. Our whole family will have a very hard life. Jiang heard this, and fear started to grow in her heart. She had originally been meant to marry Gzi, but married Gzi's father. Instead, she already felt uneasy about this, now that she was also worrying about the future. She started to see Gzi as a threat. Mother and son now shared the same view. They often spoke ill of Gzi in front of Duke Xuan. By now, a real seed of disaster had been planted. Then came the turning point. One day, it was Gzi's birthday. Gongzi Shuo wanted to celebrate his elder brother and organized a banquet for him. Gongzi Shuo also attended. At the feast, Gzi and Gongzi Shuo talked happily and laughed together. The two brothers were full of smiles. Gongzi Shuo could not get a word in. He felt very unbalanced, and his expression grew darker and darker. In the end, he said he was not feeling well and left early. He did not go back to his room to rest. He went straight to find his mother Jiang. As soon as he went into her room, he squeezed tears into his eyes and started to spin his story. He said, I was at the birthday banquet with Gongzi Shuo to celebrate Gzi. Gzi had drank a few cups of wine and started to insult me. He called me son. I felt upset and talked back then. He said, Your mother was supposed to be my wife. It is perfectly reasonable for you to call me father. I argued again, and he raised his hand and hit me. If my brother Shuo had not held him back, he would have beaten me half to death. I feel this is a deep humiliation. Please tell father and ask him to take revenge for me. Jiang listened and burst into tears. She believed every word. When Duke Xuan came back to the new terrace, she immediately cried and complained to him. She not only repeated her son's story, she added one very serious accusation. She said, Gzi also said he wants to shame me. He said, My mother Jiang was originally your concubine, but you raised her to the place of main wife. Jiang were originally my wife. Father is only borrowing you for a while. When the state of Wei comes back into my hands, you will come back to me with it. Duke Xuan listened and felt very disturbed. Part of him believed it, and part of him doubted. He called in Gongzi Shuo and questioned him. Gongzi Shuo told him clearly, elder brother never said such things. Duke Xuan half believed and half did not, but under constant influence from Jiang and Gongzi Shuo, the balance in his heart tipped. He sent people to Lady Yu Jiang's residence and harshly blamed her. He said, "You have failed to teach your son properly. You raised Gzi to be so rude." Yu Jiang heard these words and felt wronged, sad, and angry, all at once. She knew that Jiang and her son were slandering Gzi, but there was no place where she could explain herself and no one at court to speak for her. Her pain was so great that in the end, she chose to end her own life. She hanged herself. When Gzi had heard that his mother had died, his heart broke. He did not dare cry in front of his father, so he hid and wept in secret. Even then, Gongzi Shuo and Jiang did not stop. They kept pouring poison into Duke Xuan's ear. They said Gzi resented him for his mother's death, that he had sworn to take their lives as payment. By now, Duke Xuan completely believed them. Day and night, he heard their whispers and their pushing, mixed with his own twisted feelings toward Gzi. He finally made up his mind. Gzi had to die. At the same time, he felt that killing his son for no reason inside the palace would look very bad, that people and officials would judge him. He thought again and again, and decided to arrange it as an accident outside the palace. Somewhere on the road, that way he could claim it was a mishap and cover the truth. We already know that Duke Xuan of Wei wants to use this campaign as a chance to get rid of his eldest son, Gzi, on the road, so that the mother and son he prefers will have no worries at all in the future. Right at this moment, Duke Xi of Qi sends an envoy to Wei. The message is that Qi wants to join with Wei to attack Ji. As soon as Duke Xuan hears this, an idea clicks in his mind. He calls his younger son, Gongzi Shuo, to his side and speaks to him in private. What he says to Gongzi Shuo can be summed up like this: now that Qi is going to send troops against Ji, our state of Wei also needs to send someone to fix the date and talk about the campaign. We can use this chance and send Gzi as envoy to Qi on the surface. He is going on a mission. In truth, we will kill him on the way, then everyone will only think he was killed by bandits. No one will suspect me. After father and son agree on this plan, they settle on a concrete method. Duke Xuan will send Gzi carrying a white Mo banner, which means a flag with white yak tails fixed to it, and send him off to Qi. The white Mo banner is a signal. As soon as someone sees that flag from far away, they will know that the person on that boat is Gzi. Between Wei and Qi, there is a place called Xinde. This place lies between the two states. Anyone who wants to travel from Wei to Qi must pass through this narrow point. When you travel by boat and reach that stretch of river, you have to land and continue by land. Duke Xuan decides that this is where the killing will happen. Gongzi Shuo has already gathered a band of men in secret. These men are criminals who have broken the law in Wei and can no longer live openly in the city. They usually hide outside and do not dare go home now. Gongzi Shuo feels they finally have a use. He calls them up and says to them, "You will pretend to be bandits and go ahead to Shin. The two lie in ambush. As soon as you see a boat on the water with a white Mao banner on its bow, you rush up, kill the man, and grab that white banner once the job is done. I will reward you richly." These outlaws were never afraid of killing when they hear there is money and gain to be had. They agree at once. Gongzi Shuo tells them the details, arranges the men, and then goes back to report to his mother Jiang. He tells her, everything is ready now. As soon as Jiang leaves, we can wait at Xinde to take his life. Jiang is very pleased when she hears this. She thinks, as long as Gzi dies, there will be no more threat to this mother and her sons. In Wei, the future throne will be in her son's hands. There is, however, one person in the palace who has been watching all of this. That person is Gongzi Shuo. Gongzi Shuo has long noticed that his father Duke Xuan keeps sending the attendants away and only keeps his younger son Gongzi Shuo by his side. To talk in private, he sees it with his own eyes and grows suspicious in his heart. He knows that father and Gongzi Shuo must be plotting something, and he fears that this something will be bad for Gzi. One day, he goes into the palace to visit his mother Jiang, planning to test her and see if he can learn what is going on. Jiang thinks that Gongzi Shuo is only there to pay his respects and has no idea that he already suspects something when she sees her son. She cannot hold it in and tells him the whole matter. She even warns him very seriously. This was your father's idea. He is doing it to remove future trouble for us. You must not tell anyone. When Gongzi Shuo hears all this, his heart grows heavier and heavier. He knows that, in his father's mind, this decision has already been made. Even if he goes to persuade him now, it will be very hard to change anything. He does not argue with his mother. He does not object on the spot. He memorizes every word, leaves the palace, and walks away. The first thing he does afterwards is to go quietly to Gzi. He tells his elder brother everything from beginning to end. He says, "Father has already made a plan with younger brother Shuo. They want to use your mission to key as a chance to kill you. In Shinda, that place lies on the only route and you must pass it once you pass that point. Your chances are very poor. I advise you not to go to Qi this time. You should use this chance to flee to another state. Save your life first, and then think of other ways. Gzi is deeply shaken when he hears this. He has of course felt his father's coldness and has vaguely sensed danger. He thinks for a while and finally shakes his head. He says, "As a son, my duty is to obey my father's orders. To refuse my father's command is the act of an unfilial son. There is no place under heaven that does not belong to some father or some ruler. If I run from way to another state, will I really be safe? I cannot do such a thing." After he says this, Gzi makes up his mind. He goes back and prepares his baggage, chooses his attendants, takes up the white Mao banner, boards the boat, and gets ready to depart. He knows very clearly that this journey is dangerous, but in his view, if he refuses to go, he fails in his duty as a son. Gongzi Shuo sees that no matter how he urges him, his elder brother will not change his mind. He can only stand aside and weep. Gzi still follows the original plan, sets out as ordered, and rides the boat downriver towards Qi. Gongzi Shuo watches his brother's boats grow smaller and smaller in the distance. His heart is full of sorrow. He cries and thinks to himself, "My elder brother is truly a kind and gentle man. He clearly knows there is danger, but he still goes when he reaches Shinde and is killed by that gang. Father will surely pass the throne to me when that day comes. How can I explain any of this? People will say that I became ruler because I watched my elder brother go to his death." He also thinks, a son should not be without a father, and a younger brother should not be without an elder brother. If I really am a filial son, I should also think for my elder brother if I walk in front and take that blow on myself. Perhaps my brother will not be killed when father hears that it is I who have died. He may even wake up and feel shame. As he thinks and thinks, his decision slowly becomes clear. He tells himself, "If I do this, I will be true to my father and true to my brother after I die. People will remember my filial and loyal heart." Once he has thought it through, he no longer hesitates. He quickly prepares a boat, loads it with wine and food, gathers his own attendants, and follows the river downstream to catch up with Gzi's boat. He wants to catch up with his brother first, drink one last time with him, and say goodbye. Soon, he really does see Gzi's boat on the water. He brings his boat alongside and says to Gzi, "Elder brother, I have come to see you off and share a few cups of wine with you." Gzi answers in a very proper way, "I am carrying the ruler's command. I must not delay the time. I cannot stay long." Gongzi Shuo does not give up. He moves the wine jars onto Gzi's boat, spreads a mat on the deck, pours wine into cups, and hands the cup to Gzi with his own hands while he is pouring. He cannot hold back his tears. The cup is just filled when his tears fall into the wine before he can even say, "Please drink." Gzi quickly reaches out, takes the cup, and drains it. In one swallow he says, "I am drinking not only wine, but also my younger brother's true feeling." Gongzi Shuo wipes away his tears and says to his brother, "This meal and this wine today are our farewell as brothers. If you are willing to accept my feelings, please drink a few more cups." Gzi says, "As long as the wine is offered by my younger brother, your elder brother will drink as much as he can." So the two brothers keep drinking cup after cup. "You urged me to drink. I urge you in return." They drink, and at the same time think of their childhood together. Think of what happened to their mother, and think of the situation now. Their feelings are mixed. Each time they wipe away their tears, new tears rise again. Gongzi Shuo has a plan in his heart, so he drinks very little each time he takes a cup. He quietly pours out part of it and only drinks a small amount. Gzi is different. Once the cup reaches his hand, he drinks it all and leaves. Not a drop. Very soon his face turns red, his head grows heavy, and at last he falls flat on the mat and falls into a deep sleep. He sleeps very deeply and does not move at all. When Gongzi Shuo sees that his brother is completely drunk, he knows that the moment has come. He turns to Gzi's attendants and says, "The ruler's command cannot be delayed because he is drunk. I will go to Qi in his place and carry out the mission for him." He walks over and gently takes the white Mao banner from Gzi's hand and plants it on the bow of his own boat. He calls his own attendants to him and tells them to follow him. Then he orders Gzi's attendants to carry the unconscious Gzi to the boat he himself has just left, and tells them to stay and look after him. Gongzi Shuo takes out a letter he has already written and gives it to Gzi's men. He says, "When the heir wakes up, give this letter to him." After setting all this in order, he gives the command to set off with a white Mao banner fixed to his bow. His boat moves quickly down the river, heading straight towards Shin. It does not take long before his boat reaches the stretch near Shinde. He orders a carriage to be made ready and prepares to land and go ashore. At this time, the gang of outlaws hiding on the bank have already been watching the river for a long time. They see a boat approaching with a white Mo banner on its bow and assume that the man on it must be GZ. They rush out of their hiding places with weapons in hand and charge towards the boat with shouts. Gongzi Shuo sees this group racing towards him and does not run. He stands up and calls out in a loud voice, "I am the eldest son of the ruler of Wei, and I am traveling as envoy to Qi under the ruler's command. Who are you, that you dare block my way?" When these men hear him mention the word command and say that he is the ruler's son, they think that this must be the man Gongzi Shuo sent them to meet. They answer plainly, "We are here under the orders of Duke Xuan of Wei to cut off your head." After they say this, they raise their weapons and hack at Gongzi Shuo. The attendants who had come with Gongzi Shuo have no idea what is going on. They only see a group of fierce men with weapons rush out. They are terrified and scatter at once. In a moment, they have all run off and vanished. Gongzi Shuo does not resist. He lowers his head and lets the blade strike his body. Very soon, he falls to the ground and is killed. The men cut off his head, put it into a wooden box, carry it on board with them, take down the white Mao banner, and turn their boat around to head back to Wei to claim their reward. Now, we go back to Jiang. His capacity for wine has never been strong. He gets drunk quickly, and he also wakes quickly after a short time. He slowly comes to himself, he sits up, looks around, and finds that Gongzi Shuo is no longer on the boat. Just a moment ago they were drinking together. Now his brother has disappeared. He feels puzzled at this moment. GZI's attendants rush to him and hand him the letter with both hands. GZ opens the letter and sees 8 characters written inside. "The younger brother has gone in your place. Elder brother should make haste to hide." As soon as he reads the words, his eyes fill with tears. He cries out, "My younger brother has gone to die in my place. How can I run away like this? I must catch up with him at once. If I do not, he may already have been killed." Luckily, Gongzi Shuo's boat is still nearby. GZI's attendants are still there as well. They quickly board the boat that Gongzi Shuo left behind and row as hard as they can. The boat shoots forward on the river like a streak of lightning. They chase and search like this all the way. The sky slowly darkens by midnight. The moon is bright and the surface of the river looks as if it has been covered with a sheet of pale light. GZ stands at the bow of the boat and does not let his eyes leave the water ahead. Even for a moment in his heart he keeps repeating, "I must catch up, I must catch up, I must catch up." Suddenly he sees a boat far ahead coming towards him. At a glance he recognizes it. That is the boat he had been on earlier. He is so happy, he almost jumps up. He says, "Heaven has taken pity on me. My younger brother must still be alive." The attendants watch for a while and say, "This boat is coming towards us. It is not moving like a boat that is still traveling to its goal. I am afraid something is wrong." GZ also begins to feel uneasy. He orders his men to bring the boat close. The 2 boats move nearer and nearer. He looks over and sees that the other boat is full of rough men. Each has a sword at his waist and a weapon in his hand. Their faces look fierce. There is no sign of Gongzi Shuo at all. GZI's heart sinks, but his face stays calm. He asks them on purpose, "How did the task that your master gave you go?" The men hear his question and think he is one of their own who has come to meet them. They answer without hiding anything, "It is done." Then they lift up the wooden box holding the head and hand it to him for him to see for himself. GZ opens the box. Inside is a severed head. In the moonlight, he can clearly see the face. It is Gongzi Shuo. He cannot help tilting his head back and crying aloud, "Heaven, this is truly an unjust fate." The outlaws hear him cry and still do not understand. They ask in confusion, "We are acting under your father's command. A father wants to kill his son. That is, an affair between father and son. Why are you crying, injustice?" GZ wipes his tears and says, "The one who truly offended my father is me, not him. I am GZ. I am the one who has wronged my father. The man your ruler ordered you to kill should have been me. This is my younger brother Gongzi. Show you have killed the wrong man." He goes on, "Now you must kill me quickly and put my head in the box and take it back to my father. Only then can you atone for killing the wrong person." Among the gang there are a few who have once seen the Princess of Wei. From afar they step closer and look carefully at him in the moonlight. At last they recognize that this is indeed GZI, and the man they killed was actually Gongzi Shuo. Only now do they realize that they have made a mistake. They look at one another and say, "The matter has already gone wrong. We can only do as this prince says." So they raise their weapons again and kill GZI, cut off his head, and place it in the same wooden box. GZI's attendants see their master killed in front of them and know that they have no power here and no way to ask help from anyone. They can only run for their lives in all directions. When this story later spreads, people privately feel deep sorrow for these 2 brothers. The elder is friendly and the younger is respectful. In the end, one goes to die first in his brother's place, and the other chases after him and gives his life for his younger brother. Both die in the same affair. In the Book of Songs, in the section Wei Songs, There is a poem called Taking the Boat that remembers these two brothers traveling together by boat. The poet does not dare write the truth too clearly. He only repeats in the poem that the two sons ride the boat together, that the boat rocks slowly on the water, and that he himself misses them again and again in his heart. In this way, he hides his grief between the lines. On the other side, after the men in ambush at Chinda killed the two princes, they did not stay there for long. They boarded their boat that same night and hurried back to the capital of Wei. They did not go to see Duke Xuan first. They went to see Gongzi Shuo because this whole job had been arranged by him in person. When the bandits meet Gongzi Shuo, the first thing they do is hold up the white Mao banner and present it for him to see. Then they tell the story from beginning to end. They say they first killed the prince who had the white Mao banner on his boat, and then later killed the prince who came after him. 2 lives, 2 heads. They report every detail very clearly. In their hearts, they are actually very afraid. The thing they worry about most is that killing Gongzi Shuo by mistake will bring disaster down on them. They fear that Gongzi Shuo will suddenly turn against them, blame them for doing the job wrong, and then punish them instead. To their surprise, when Gongzi Shuo hears everything, he is happy. In his mind, the 2 people he fears the most, the 2 he cannot relax about, are Jizi and Gongzi Shuo. One is the Aaron name. The other is the son his father had secretly chosen as future ruler. Now, both of them have died in the same scheme. To put it plainly, this is killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It does not ruin his plan. It solves his 2 biggest worries in 1 stroke. So, instead of blaming anyone, he takes up his brush, orders out a large sum of money from his own stores, and gives these men a heavy reward. Gold and silver are handed out one by one. The outlaws walk away with smiling faces and a great weight lifted from their hearts. After he has settled these men, Gongzi Shuo goes into the palace to see his mother, Jiang. He says to her, "Elder brother Shuo was the one who put the white Mao banner on his boat and reached Shinda first. So he was the one who met those men first and died first. When Jizi arrived later, he gave his own name to those men and was killed as well. You could say that he died to repay the life that his elder brother had just lost." When Jiang hears that her own son Gongzi Shuo is dead, she is of course full of grief and pain. After all, this is the child she raised with her own hands. But when she remembers that Jizi eye, the thorn in her eye, has also been removed at the same time, she feels that this whole affair has also brought some gain. In her heart, sorrow and relief twist together. You could say that half her heart is aching and half her heart is secretly glad. Mother and son sit together and go through the whole chain of events one more time. Then they agree that they should not throw the whole truth at Duke Xuan all at once. They need to let him know slowly. In another part of the court, there are 2 important ministers in Wei. One is Right Gongzi. He is the man Duke Xuan once spoke to face and entrusted with a task. His task was to support Jizia in the future, to be his right hand when Jizia became ruler. The other is left Gongzi. He has also received a promise from Duke Xuan, but his assignment is different. He is the one who is supposed to support Gongzi Shuo and help him hold the court steady when he becomes ruler one day. So, one minister's heart is tied to Jizia. The other minister's heart is tied to Gongzi Shuo. Each has his own worry. This time, when Duke Xuan sends Jizi Nitaki as envoy, and later Gongzi Shuo goes after his elder brother to see him off, both ministers feel uneasy. Each of them quietly sends people out to look for news of the 2 princes. Soon their men meet and share what they have heard, and they discover that both princes have died near Shin. When this news reaches the 2 ministers, they feel as if knives have been driven into their hearts. Right Gongzi thinks of the oath he swore in the past. Left Gongzi thinks of the promise he accepted from his ruler. The 2 princes they were meant to support have now both died on the road. From each serving his own lord, they suddenly become 2 men sharing the same grief. They weep hard, then they talk together and say, "We cannot hide this from our ruler." Early the next morning, when it is time for Duke Xuan to come to court, the 2 ministers put on their court robes and enter the hall together. In front of the assembled officials, they both kneel down and burst into loud tears. Duke Xuan sees his 2 senior ministers crying so bitterly and is alarmed. He asks, What is going on with you two? What has happened? The two ministers cry and at the same time tell in detail how the two princes were killed. They begin with Duke Xuan sending Gongzi as envoy to Qi. Then they tell how Gongzi Shuo went after his elder brother to see him off. Then they describe the ambush at Shinda and how the two princes died one after another. Every detail they can speak of, they bring out. After they finish speaking, they beg Duke Xuan through their tears. Please grant us permission to gather and bury the bodies of the two princes properly and allow us to arrange their funerals. In this way, we can at least repay a little of the trust you've placed in us when you first gave us this duty. When they have said this, they cry again. Duke Xuan has long lost all patience with Gongzi and no longer has any real liking for this eldest son. But toward Gongzi Shuo, he still has a deep feeling as a father. Now he suddenly learns that these two sons have both died in the same affair. For a moment, he feels the world go dark and hears a buzzing in his ears. His whole body turns stiff like stone. He sits stunned for a long time and cannot speak. Only after a while does he slowly come back to himself. Then the wave of grief inside him rises all at once. Tears run down his face as he repeats over and over, Jiang has tricked me. Jiang has tricked me. He says this again and again. After that, he immediately orders that Gongzi Shuo be brought to him and questions him about what has happened. Gongzi Shuo does not dare tell the truth. He only says that he does not know the details. He says he has only heard that his two elder brothers died near Shinde and that all the details came from other people. In front of his father, he puts on the face of an innocent bystander. Duke Xuan's anger has already reached its peak. He does not care to investigate very carefully. He simply gives a command that Gongzi Shuo must capture the killers and bring them back to be punished. Gongzi Shuo agrees with his mouth and says, I will obey. In reality, he has no such intention at all. Those men were hired by him with heavy pay. They are the ones who helped him remove his two elder brothers. How could he truly hand them over to his father? He only goes through the motions and pretends to act outside. This blow is a huge shock to Duke Xuan, both in body and in mind. From this point on, he often thinks of Gongzi Shuo. He often thinks of Jiang. He turns this whole affair over and over in his heart. His body was never very strong. Now, after such a heavy shock, his health grows worse day by day. In the end, he falls sick in bed. Whenever he closes his eyes, it is as if he sees Jiang, Gongzi, and Gongzi Shuo standing at his bedside, crying as they look at him. His heart is full of guilt, full of fear, full of sorrow. This torment is with him in the day and in the night. The officials around him cannot do much. They can only pray to the gods on his behalf and ask heaven to show mercy. They also go and offer sacrifices to the ancestors, begging the forefathers to protect their ruler. But whether they pray to heaven or bow to the ancestors, nothing makes his illness any better. He lies there sick for more than half a month and finally dies. After Duke Xuan dies, the person who hosts the funeral is Gongzi Shuo. According to the rites, he smoothly takes over the throne and becomes the new ruler of Wei. In later records, he is known as Duke of Wei. At this time, Gongzi Shuo is not even an adult. He is only 15 years old. Once he sits on the throne, the first thing he does is dismiss right Gongzi and left Gongzi. He removes them from their posts and takes their power away. Duke Xuan also has another son by a different mother, named Gongzi Shuo, with a different written form. This Gongzi Shuo is not willing to accept that Gongzi Shuo can sit on the throne. He refuses to bow as a subject in the court. In the night, he quietly packs his belongings, leaves Wei, and goes to Qi. Right Gongzi and left Gongzi feel deep resentment toward Duke of Wei. Day after day, they think not about how to serve the new ruler, but about how to avenge Zhou and Gongzi Shuo. They know that right now they are weak and that the time is not ripe, so they do not dare act rashly. They can only endure and wait. Now let us look at Duke of Wei. He has just taken the throne, and his hold on power is not yet firm. There is one battle he keeps in mind. It is the defeat Wei suffered at the hands of Zheng when his father sent troops to help Qi attack Qi. Duke of Wei holds a grudge against the state of Zheng that defeat. One day, someone comes to report that a messenger has arrived from Zheng. He calls the envoy in at once and asks what has happened. The envoy says Duke Li of Zheng has already fled from Zheng. The ministers within Zheng have decided to invite the former ruler, Duke Xiao of Zheng, back again and let him once more govern the state. When Duke Wei of Wei hears this, he is very pleased. He thinks, it was out of goodwill that I once sent Duke Xiao back home. Now they have driven Duke Li away and invited Duke Dao back. This makes me feel that justice has finally been done. So he immediately orders carts and horses to be prepared and chooses guards for the escort. He personally arranges for Duke Xiao of Zhen to be sent safely back to Zhen. In Jing, Zhou is filled with guilt. On the road, as he comes to welcome Duke Xiao, he bows again and again. When he stands before Duke Xiao, he cannot stop kowtowing and begging forgiveness for failing in his duty and not protecting his ruler in the past. Duke Xiao does not punish him on the spot and does not drag out the old case in front of everyone. On the surface, he seems to accept Zhu's apology and does not give him any clear penalty. But in his heart, his view of Zhu has already changed. From this time on, although Zhu is still in the court, Duke Zhao treats him very differently from before. Compared with earlier days, he is clearly much colder. Zhu is very aware of this. He knows that the choice he made back then has left a wound in Duke Zhao's heart. Even if Duke Zhao says the word forgive, he cannot truly act as if nothing ever happened. Zhu often feels uneasy and often feels that he has failed his original ruler. So whenever he can, he asks for sick leave and prefers not to appear in court. Sometimes he really is unwell. Sometimes he simply does not want to face that cold gaze. In the court, there is another man named Gao Qumi. He has long been a minister that Duke Zhao does not like. Even when Duke Xiao ruled in the past, he already held a low opinion of him. Now that Duke Xiao has returned to the throne, Gao Qumi is even more afraid. He knows he is likely to be a target when the accounts are settled. He fears that one day Duke Zhao will take his life, so he secretly gathers supporters and collects a group of loyal followers around him. In his heart, he is planning that, when the time is right, he will depose Duke Xiao and set up Zai Wei as ruler instead. In this uneasy atmosphere, Duke Li of Jing, who is in the state of Kai, is not sitting still either. During these years in Caisai, he has been working in secret. He uses money and personal favors to win people over so that some are willing to work for him. He also sends messages through others to Tenbo, the Zen official in charge of the city of Li, saying that he wants to use Li as his base. Tenbo refuses him. Tenbo remains loyal to Zheng and is not willing to let Duke Li use Lei. When Duke Li sees that persuasion is useless, he changes his method. He has people from Kai dress up as traders and go to Li carrying goods. They really do some small business on the side, but at the same time, they use this chance to buy off some people inside the city. After some time, when he feels that there are enough allies inside the walls, they choose their moment and kill Tenbo. Once Tenbo is dead, the defense of the city falls into chaos. Duke Li moves at once. He brings his people into Li and sets it up as his stronghold. He orders the walls to be strengthened and made higher and thicker. He orders the moat to be dug deeper and the city's defenses to be improved. He has armor and weapons cast and made in large numbers and drills his troops all day long. He trains his soldiers and waits only for a chance to march against the main territory of Zhou. From this moment on, the city of Li is no longer just a subordinate city of Zheng. It becomes a fortress standing against Zheng. When Zhu hears this news, he breaks out in a cold sweat. He rushes into the palace to report everything in detail to Duke Zhao. Duke Zhao understands how serious this is. He immediately sends the minister Fuzhou with troops to camp at Deling, a place that lies on the route Duke Li must take, to block him from striking directly at Zheng's heartland. On Duke Li's side, when he hears that Zhang is already prepared, the sharp edge he felt when he first took Li suddenly dulls. He does not dare slam straight into Zheng. Instead, he begins to think about going around. He sends an envoy to Duke Xuan of Lu, hoping that Duke Xuan will speak to Duke Xuan of Song on his behalf. He says that if he can one day be restored as ruler in Jing, he will pay back all the goods and wealth that Jing owes Song, one sum at a time, without missing anything. The envoy from Lu carries Duke Li's words to Duke Xuan of Song. When Duke Xuan hears this and sees mention of wealth and goods, the greed in his heart is stirred up again. He begins to weigh the gains. If he sends Duke Li back to Zheng as ruler, in the future, he can not only recover what he is owed, he may well be able to squeeze even more. So he joins with Kai and Wei and raises an army, saying they will use force to send Duke Li back to the throne of Zhen. Now why does Duke Wei of Wei choose to join this campaign? On one hand, when Duke Xiao fled to Wei in the past, it was Wei that provided carriages and horses to send him back to Zheng. By rights, once Duke Xiao returned and took back power, he should have sent men with gifts to Wei to give thanks. But after Duke Xiao returned, he never sent any envoy to Wei to show his gratitude. This leaves Duke Wei feeling slighted. On the other hand, since taking the throne, Duke Wei has not yet had a chance to meet other rulers on the battlefield or at an alliance meeting. In his heart, he thinks, if I march with Duke Xuan of Song this time, it will be a chance for me to show my face among the lords. For these two reasons, he chooses to stand on Duke Xuan's side and march with him against Duke Xiao of Zheng. He even personally leads the army. At this point, Gongzi turns to Gongzi and says, Duke Wei has taken the army out of the country. For us, this is a gift from heaven. Gongzi says, if we're going to move, we must first choose a new ruler. Only when the people have a new lord will the state not fall into disorder. As they are whispering together inside the house, one of their household men rushes in to report that the minister Ningui is at the door and asks to see them. As soon as they hear the name Ningui, they know that he too was once close to Jiang and Gongzi Shuo. So they invite him in at once. Ningui steps through the door, looks at them, and speaks very directly. Have the two of you forgotten the blood that left when Jizi and Gongzi Shuo died on the river? Now that Duke Wei is far away with the army, this is our chance to act. We must not miss it. Gongzi says, of course we have not forgotten. We were just talking about it. We simply have not yet decided who should be the new ruler. Ningui thinks for a moment and says, among all the princes, the only one I see as kind and steady enough to support together is Qian Mo. He is also the son-in-law of the Zhou king. With that status, when the people hear that he is to be ruler, they will feel more settled and will not be so quick to rise in chaos. Gongzi and Gongzi both feel this is a good suggestion. The three of them discuss it briefly and then decide together. They will all support Qian Mo as the new ruler of Wei. After that, they follow the old rites and hold a simple but serious oath ceremony. They kill an animal and collect its blood in a vessel. They drip the blood into the cup and each takes a sip, swearing that they will work with one heart to assist Qian Mo. Once the oath is sworn, they secretly contact the former followers and personal guards who once served Jizi and Gongzi Shuo. These men have never forgotten the kindness of their old masters. When they hear that there will be a move to depose Duke Wei and raise a new ruler, they quickly answer the call. They begin to spread a message among the people, saying, Duke Wei has already lost the battle in this campaign against Zheng and has died on the field. The rumor runs through the state. The common people do not yet know whether it is true, but the hearts of the courts are already shaking. At this point, while the rumor spreads, they move quickly. They escort Qian Mo into the palace and hold the enthronement ceremony, placing him on the ruler's seat. After the officials have come to court and bowed to the new ruler, and after the ceremony is complete, they publish a written account for the people. In it, they lay out how Gongzi Shuo once framed his two elder brothers and how he drove Duke Xuan into grief and sickness and death. At the same time, they arranged new funerals for Jizi and Gongzi Shuo. They buried the two princes, who died unjustly, with the highest honors and rights, so that they can at least rest with some dignity in the earth. When all this is done, they send an envoy to the king of Zhou to formally report that Wei has set up a new ruler, Qian Mo. On the military side, they order Ningui to lead troops to camp at the outskirts of Wei, blocking Duke Wei's way home. The message is clear. When you finish your war and come back, you will find there is no place for you. Gongzi's hatred is not only for Duke Wei. He also wants to drag Xuanjiang out and put her to death to vent his anger. In his eyes, Xuanjiang has taken a deep part in this chain of events and bears a guilt she cannot escape. But Gongzi advises him, Xuanjiang certainly has committed crimes, but she is the sister of Duke Xuan of Qi. If we kill her now, we will be openly offending Qi. In future, when Wei wants to mend relations with Qi, we will have one more barrier in our way. Instead of killing her now, it is better to spare her life and keep her as a card we can use when we talk with Qi later. Gongzi thinks about it and sees that this makes sense. So they do not kill Jiang. They move her to another palace and keep her away from government affairs. In daily life, they do not go out of their way to torment her. They simply no longer allow her to touch the affairs of the state. Let us pick up the story on the Zhang side and slowly tie it together with what happens in Wei and in Qi. We start with that battle where 4 states joined forces to attack Zhang. At that time, 4 countries marched together against Zhang. They were Song, Lu, Kaisi, and Wei. When the 4 armies came together, there were huge numbers of men and horses. The force they showed was very impressive. On the Zheng side, the Prime Minister Zhou personally took command. He led Zheng's main army to a place called Daling and blocked the path of the 4-state alliance there. Zhou directed things in person inside the army. He watched the enemy as he fought, and he thought while he watched. Whenever he met a new situation, he changed his arrangements on the spot. In modern words, he was good at adapting in real time. Because his command was steady and his reactions were not slow, Zhen, although weaker on paper, did not end up suffering a crushing defeat in this battle and was not beaten to the ground. On the other side, the 4 allied states fought for a while and found that it was not easy to break Xing quickly. Each ruler had his own worries in his heart, and none of them dared to fight all the way to a you die, I die ending. So, as the fighting went on, nobody could really gain the upper hand. In the end, Song, Lu, Kaisa, and Wei could only pull back their troops and go home. After the allied army withdrew, things on the Zhen side became quiet for a while. Now, we move the camera back to Wei. Duke Wei of Wei, who used to be Gongzi Shuo, had personally led his troops out on this campaign, marching together with Song. Before he could win any real victory, on the way home he heard a piece of news. There had been a coup inside Wei. The throne had already been taken by someone else. Once he heard this, he no longer had the face to go back to Wei. He did not dare even to approach the borders of his own state. He changed direction and went to Qi instead. The ruler in Qi at that time was Duke Xuan of Qi. Duke Hui of Wei was his nephew through his sister, so Duke Xiang still felt some family affection for him. When Duke Hui arrived in Qi, Duke Xiang treated him fairly well in daily life. He arranged food and lodging for him and did not slight him. Duke Hui of Wei asked him for help and hoped that one day Duke Xiang would send troops to help him win back the throne he had lost. To move Duke Xiang, Duke Hui made a very direct promise. He said, "If I can return to Wei and sit on the throne once more, I will take all the treasures and jade discs from the inner palace and the storehouses and offer them all to you." Duke Xiang listened. There was family connection on one side and a promised mountain of treasure on the other. That put him in an even better mood. He naturally liked this nephew more. Just then, another piece of news reached Qi. Someone came to report that Duke Xuan of Lu had sent an envoy to Qi with something important to say. The envoy from Lu came in and stated his mission clearly. It turned out to be this. Earlier, Duke Xiang had asked the Zhou king for a marriage. He wanted to marry the Zhou king's daughter, a royal princess, as his wife. The king had already agreed to this match and had asked Duke Xuan of Lu to act as the sponsor of the marriage. Duke Xuan was now going to come in person to Qi so that he and Duke Yang could sit down face to face and work out the details of the wedding. When Duke Xiang heard this, he was very pleased. At that moment, he suddenly remembered that it had been a very long time since he had seen his younger sister, Wen Jiang. Who is Wen Jiang? She is Duke Xiang's younger sister, and she is now the wife of Duke Xuan of Lu, the Lady of Lu. Duke Xiang turned this over in his mind and came up with an idea. Since Duke Xuan was coming to Qi, he might as well use the chance to invite his sister too, so that brother and sister could see each other. So Duke Xiang sent an envoy to welcome Duke Xuan of Lu and gave him a special instruction. Bring Wen Jiang here as well. The ministers of Qi saw their ruler busy with marriage plans, busy welcoming the ruler of Lu, and also planning to see his sister. They came to ask him, "What about that promise you made before? To send troops for Duke Wei and attack Wei so he can regain his throne?" What will you do with that? Duke Xiang thought for a moment and said, Qiang Mo is also the Zhou king's son-in-law. The new ruler in Wei, Qian Mo, has also married the Zhou king's daughter, just as I have. Now I am about to marry the royal princess. This is a very big matter. As for sending troops over Wei, that has to be put aside for now. In other words, he pressed pause on the promise to attack Wei. However, there was still one thing in Wei that he could not let go of. He was worried that the people of Wei might put Jiang to death. Jiang was his elder sister. She had once married into Wei and become deeply entangled in all that family mess. He was afraid that the ruler and ministers of Wei, in order to vent their anger and settle accounts, might decide to execute her. So, he arranged another plan. Duke Xiang sent the minister Gong's son, Wuzi, together with Gongzi Shuo, with a different written form, to Wei. Who is this Gongzi Shuo? He is the son of the late Duke Xuan, one of the princes of Wei. Before they set out, Duke Xiang spoke to Gong's son Wuzi in private and gave him some very clear instructions. When you reach Wei, you must find a way to arrange a marriage between Gongzi Shuo and his aunt Xuan Jiang. You must help him marry her. If you can accomplish this, it will count as the first step toward restoring Duke Hui to the throne. Gong's son Wuzi agreed and set out with Gongzi Shuo for Wei. When they arrived in Wei, they first went in to see the new ruler Duke Qian Mo. By this time, Gongzi Shuo's original wife had already died. Gong's son Wuzi laid out Duke Xiang's idea in full detail to the ruler and ministers of Wei. He said, Duke Xiang hopes that Gongzi Shuo will marry Jiang. If this marriage takes place, it will be good for both Qi and Wei. He also passed this message to Jiang herself. When Jiang heard it, she surprisingly agreed. The ministers of Wei had mixed feelings when they heard about this plan. On one hand, they were full of anger at what Jiang had done in those tangled years with Duke Xuan. They had many problems with her past role as the formal wife of a ruler of Wei. On the other hand, the current proposal was to marry her to an ordinary noble, Gongzi Shuo, and not let her be the wife of a ruler again. In terms of rank, this was a step down. The ministers thought that lowering her status in this way was actually something they were pleased to see. On top of that, this plan came from Duke Xiang of Qi. Qi was a major power, and they did not want to offend it. So in the end, they all agreed. There was only one person who firmly disagreed, and that was Gongzi Shuo himself. Gongzi Shuo refused with all his strength. In his heart, he found it very hard to accept the idea of marrying Jiang. He felt that her past was too messy and did not want such a woman as his wife. When Gong's son Wuzi saw Gongzi Shuo's attitude, he became very anxious. He said privately to write Gongzi, if this thing does not go through, I will have no way to explain myself to Duke Xiang when I return. Right? Gongzi also felt troubled. He too was afraid of one thing, that if this marriage could not be arranged, Duke Xiang would be offended. Wei's situation was already unstable, and if they now offended Qi on top of that, the consequences could be serious. So Gongzi and Gongsun Wuzi put their heads together and came up with a plan. First, they invited Gongzi Shuo to come to a banquet. The tables were covered with food and wine, and they hired singers and dancers to perform at the side and add to the mood. Everyone took turns urging Gongzi Shuo to drink. Cup after cup, they kept pressing him. Gongzi Shuo was already carrying a heavy mood in his heart, and as he drank, he was pulled along by the atmosphere. In this way, drinking and drinking, he was finally drunk to the point where his mind went completely blank. He no longer knew what was happening. When he was totally drunk and could no longer stay conscious, Gongzi and Gongsun Wuzi had him carried to the palace where Jiang lived. That night, while he was still in that half-awake state, he and Jiang did what a husband and wife do. The next day, when Gongzi Shuo woke up, his mind slowly cleared. He found himself lying beside Jiang and realized what had happened. He felt deep regret and pain in his heart, but he also understood that the raw rice had already been cooked into mature rice. Whether he liked it or not, there was no way to undo what had been done. In that time, and with that concept of ritual and law, he could only admit that he had already become Jiang's husband. So Jiang officially married Gongzi Shuo, and they openly recognized this marriage. Later, Zhou, Jiang, and Gongzi Shuo had 5 children together. Their eldest son was called Kizai, but he died very young and never grew up. The second son was called Daigong Shen. The third son was called Wengong Hui. They also had 2 daughters. One later married Duke Xuan of Song and became his lady. The other married Duke Mu of Shu and became lady of the state of Shu. There was a historian who, looking at what happened in this family, from Duke Xuan down to the generation of Gongzi Shuo, saw all these tangled marriages between father and son, and their father's concubines, and their son's concubines. He wrote a poem to express his feelings. In rough meaning, it says this: how can a son's wife be seized and taken as someone else's wife? When a son lies with his father's concubine, the payback does not take long to come. Yi Jiang bore a son, then Zhuan Jiang carried on the same pattern. When a family keeps passing down this kind of way, it is nothing to be proud of. The main idea of the poem is this: Duke Xuan first committed adultery with his own father's concubine in Hejizai. Now it is his son Gongzi Suo's turn to marry his father's former concubine Jiang. This whole chain of events looks almost like a family rule in their house and is more than just some simple payback for that story of the new terrace. Now that we have finished what happens on the way in Qi side, let us go back again to Zheng. After the 4th-day army pulled back, Prime Minister Zhou returned to the capital from Dieling. This time, Zheng had not lost a battle, but one thing sat heavy on Zhou's heart and would not let him relax. That thing was this: Duke Li of Xing was still in the city of Li. As long as Duke Li held the city of Li, Zheng would have one more hidden danger. Zhou understood this very clearly, so he began to think again and again how he could deal with both Duke Li and the state of Song at the same time. One day, he suddenly remembered something from the past. In the war over Qi and Duke Li had formed a deep hatred. Duke Li had once helped Qi attack Qi, but later, in the tangle of events, their relationship had broken and hatred had formed. Last time Duke Li tried to ask other states to help him with troops, he managed to pull in Song Kaisai and Wei, but he had no way to get troops from Qi. This point, for Zhou, looked like a weak spot and an opening. On top of that, Duke Xiao had only just returned to the throne. Zheng needed new allies. Zhou had also heard that Duke Xuan of Lu was about to act as sponsor for Duke Xiang of Qi and help him marry the Zhou king's daughter. That marriage would soon pull Qi and Lu close again, and their bond as allies would grow even stronger. Zhou made his own calculation. If Zheng now takes the initiative and goes to form an alliance with Qi, and then, through Qi, strengthens ties with Lu as well, so that Qi and Lu stand on Zheng's side, then Song will not be so frightening. Song will not dare act wildly. So Zhou went in to see Duke Xiao of Zhen and said, "Please send me with gifts to Qi. I want to represent Zhen and make an alliance with Qi. Once we have an alliance with Qi, we can then, through Qi, pull in Lu and have Qi and Lu stand together with us. As long as Qi and Lu are willing to support us, there is nothing much to fear from Song." Duke Xiao agreed and sent him as envoy to Qi. But plans made by people cannot control all the changes of heaven. The old line says, no matter how carefully a clever man thinks, he will always miss something. Zhou spent all his thought guarding against Duke Li, but he did not think of another dangerous person inside Zheng, and that was Gao Qiumi. Gao Qiumi had not gotten along with Duke Zhao for a long time. Duke Zhao, even when he was still crowned prince, had already seen that Gao Qiumi was not a calm or safe man. He had noticed that Gao Qiumi was ambitious and hard to deal with. He simply had not removed him at that time. This time, after Duke Xiao returned and became ruler again, Gao Qiumi lived in constant fear of being punished. As he feared, he also plotted. He secretly built his own circle, drew some men to his side, and waited for a chance. The reason he had not moved until now was that Zhou was still in Zheng. Zhou had power, status, and skill. Gao Qiumi felt he could not deal with him yet, so he did not dare act lightly. Now Zhou himself had taken gifts and gone out as envoy to Qi. Gao Qiumi saw that the big stone blocking his way was gone for the moment, and his hesitation dropped away. He moved at once. First, he sent men to bring back Gongzi to his house. Gongzi was one of Zhang Yuangong's sons. He had earlier fled to Tai and now Zhou quietly brought him back and hid him. Then, he chose his moment. The moment he chose was the winter day when Duke Xiao left the city to perform a sacrifice in the suburbs. On that day, Duke Xiao rode out of the city to sacrifice outside the walls, with his attendants following him along a fixed route. Gao Qiume had already placed his own men in ambush along that road. When the carriage of Duke Xiao reached that stretch of road, they rushed out, blocked his way, and struck. They killed Duke Xiao on the spot. After they killed him, they did not tell the truth. Instead, they put out a story saying that Duke Xiao had met bandits on the road and been killed by them. In this way, one phrase, "met bandits on the road," was used to cover over the fact of their own murder of their ruler. Once Duke Xiao was dead, Gao Qiume and his allies quickly put Gongzi on the throne and made him the new ruler of Zhen. Then, in the new ruler's name, they sent for Zhou to come back from Qi. Their public story was that they wanted Prime Minister Zhou to come back and share power with Zhao Qiume and govern Xian together. Zhou had just finished his mission in Qi when he received the recall. He thought it was only that matters in Xing needed him back at the center. He did not yet know that the ruler had been killed. When he came home to Zhen, he found that everything had changed. It is a pity. Duke Xiao of Xing had taken great trouble to return from Wei to Xing, and had at last become ruler again. From the time he regained the throne to the time he was killed by traitors, not even 3 full years went by. In later times, Su Dongpo read this part of the spring and autumn and was deeply moved. He said that when Duke Xiao was still crowned prince, he had already seen clearly that Zhao Qiume was not a good man, that he was ambitious and dangerous. Duke Xiao did not fail to see the problem. He saw it, but whether it was in his first time as ruler or in his second time, he never made up his mind to remove Zhao Qiume. He kept him in the court the whole time. In the end, he died at this man's hands. Su Dongpo's point was that Duke Zhao did not lose his life because he could not see the danger, but because his nature was too indecisive. He would not make a hard choice, and so part of his fate was the result of his own character. Someone also wrote a poem about this story and sighed over it. The poem says, in meaning, if you clearly see that there are bad weeds, you should pull them out early. How can you live under the same roof with snakes and tigers? If I am not the one who subdues others, it will be others who come to subdue me. I clearly knew what Zhao Qiume was and did not move against him, and in the end, I died by his hand. The bad weeds and snakes and tigers in this poem point exactly at men like Zhao Qiume. At the end of this round, the original text leaves us with only one line. We do not yet know what kind of end awaits Zheng Ziwei. What direction will Zheng take in the hands of Gongzi Wei? Will new disasters break out again? We will continue that part of the story next time. Chinese culture mini lesson: Su Dongpo and Dongpo pork. In the story we just told, we mentioned a man called Su Dongpo. Su Dongpo has had a huge influence in Chinese history, and even today, his real name was Su Shi, and he also called himself the resident of Eastern Slope, which is where the name Su Dongpo comes from. He lived in the Northern Song dynasty and was a writer, calligrapher, painter, and statesman. In the history of Chinese culture, he is one of those extremely rare all-round geniuses. Later generations often call him the greatest man of letters of all time. At 21, he passed the imperial examination as a Jinsi, which was the major nationwide exam for selecting officials. He wrote a famous essay on the extreme importance of leniency in punishments and rewards, which shocked the literary world and made the great writer Ouyang Shu notice him and support him. Later, because he opposed Wang Yanqi's radical reforms, and then also disagreed when Sima Guang tried to abolish all those new policies in one sweep, Su Dongpo was repeatedly exiled and demoted. At 62, he was sent to the remote island of Danzhou in Hainan. The next year, he fell ill and died in Changzhou. In the history of Chinese poetry and prose, there is a very famous label, the 8 Great Prose Masters of the Tang and Song. These were 8 highly influential writers from the Tang and Song dynasties who became the classic representatives of Chinese prose. They did not just leave behind many well-loved essays. Together they also shaped the grammar and inner spirit of classical Chinese prose. The 8 were, from the Tang, Han Yu, and Lu Zongyuan, and from the song Ouyang Shu, the same Ouyang Shu who admired Su Dongpo, Wang Anshi. The reformer Su opposed, and Zhengong plus Su Zan, Su Shi, that is Su Dongpo, and Su Ji. Su Zang was the father, Su Shi the elder son, and Su Ji the younger son. In other words, the Su family alone took 3 out of the 8 seats. That tells you how extraordinary this family was. At this point, you might feel a bit confused. The book we have been using, Chronicles of the Eastern Zhou Kingdoms, is supposed to be about the Zhou dynasty. So why do we suddenly see the name of Su Dongpo, a man from the Song dynasty, popping up in the book? Su Dongpo, or Su Shi, was a man of the northern Song, while Chronicles of the Eastern Zhou Kingdoms tells stories from the Eastern Zhou period, the spring and autumn and the warring states. Between them, there is a gap of about 1400 years. Chronicles of the Eastern Zhou Kingdoms covers the time from the late Western Zhou, from King Xuan of Zhou in the 8th century before our era, up to the unification of the 6 states by the first emperor of Qin in 221 BCE, which is more than 500 years of history and story. The book itself was not written by people of the Zhou dynasty. It was built out of several layers of later work. In the Yuan dynasty, there were already vernacular storybooks about the various states. In the Ming dynasty, Yu Shaoyou compiled a book called Records of the Various States. In late Ming, Fang Minglong rewrote it as New Records of the Various States. In the Qianlong era of the Qing dynasty, Kaiye Wanfang revised it again and finally fixed the title as Chronicles of the Eastern Zhou Kingdoms. So, the book is a work of Ming and Qing writers telling stories of the Zhou. It is a later historical romance, not a contemporary record. Ming and Qing popular fiction loved to play a game with commentary additions. Some versions include marginal notes and comments, and the commentators often quote poems and lines from people who lived much earlier or much later than the time of the story itself. For example, Su Dongpo once wrote a poem on the tomb of Duke Mu of Qin. In some versions of Chronicles of the Eastern Zhou Kingdoms, that poem is quoted directly when the author comments on Duke Mu burying his 3 loyal ministers with him. So when you see Su Dongpo on that page, it is not a person inside the story speaking. It is a person from a much later age, a reader and commentator, stepping in to offer his judgment. It is a bit like watching a modern documentary about the spring and autumn period, and at the end, the narrator says, as Su Dongpo once said, the film is about the Zhou, but the voice it quotes can be from the song. This is completely normal in traditional Chinese writing. But our topic today is not only Su Dongpo, the man, it is something closely connected to him that many of you may have already eaten, or at least seen on the menu. Just from the name, you can guess that this dish was created by him. It is called Dongpo pork. If I ask you right now to picture a piece of pork in your mind, what comes up? Maybe you see soft, glistening pork belly. Maybe you imagine that kind of meat that melts the moment it touches your tongue, that falls apart with one light touch of your chopsticks. Now, imagine there is a piece of meat that is neither a simple home dish nor some fancy imperial banquet dish, and yet it has crossed 900 years of time. As soon as people in China hear the name, they start to swallow their saliva. That piece of meat is Dongpo pork. The real birthplace of Dongpo pork is Huangzhou, today's Huanggang in Hubei. At that time, she had just gone through the Crow Terrace poetry case. What was the Crow Terrace poetry case? Basically, he wrote poems with lines that the emperor did not like. People accused him of satirizing the court. He was arrested and almost lost his life. He had been a rising star at court, and overnight he became a criminal in chains. When he was finally released, he was no longer a favored official. He was branded as disgraced and was exiled to Huangzhou. His post there was nearly empty, and his salary was so small that it was basically nothing. So here we have a great man of letters, the top of the literary world, thrown into a small town on the banks of the Yangtze River with almost no income, no resources, and no future. And at that time, he had to support a whole family. What could he do? He simply rolled up his sleeves, went to work in the fields, built dikes, opened wasteland, and cooked for himself. This period of his life became the golden age of his cooking career. Dongpo pork was slowly dreamed into being during this time. According to Song Dynasty texts and to Sushi's own poems and prose, the principles behind this piece of meat can be summed up in 3 words: slow, generous, and steady. In Huangzhou, at that time, supplies were limited. He could not use a lot of fancy spices, so he focused on one thing. He refused to chase quick results and insisted on bringing out the original taste of the meat. He wrote in a poem, "In Huangzhou, the pork is good and cheap as dirt. The rich will not eat it. The poor do not know how to cook it." These lines show very clearly where his mind was at that time. He was poor, but he was proud that he could turn something as cheap as mud into a dish of the highest order. From this, you can already feel that Sudongpo remained deeply optimistic about life. At the beginning, Dongpo pork was not an official dish name. It was just a nickname used by the people. After he was exiled to Guangzhou, Sushi got along very well with the local people. He was willing to help build dikes and solve flooding. He often brought the meat he had cooked to reward the workers. The people tasted it and realized that this meat was more fragrant, softer, and shinier than anything they could make at home. It was completely different. They asked him, "How did you cook this meat?" The answer was, "It was cooked by Master Su." As time went by, people began to call it Dongpo pork, using his courtesy name, so the name did not come from Sudongpo himself. It came from the mouths of ordinary people as a memory tag. Many people today think of Dongpo pork as a famous dish from Hangzhou. That is because later sushi was again posted to Hangzhou as Governor Da. At that time, Westlake had silted up badly. Flooding was a serious problem for the people. He organized projects to control the water and dredge the lake, and became a classic example of a good and effective governor. To thank him, the people of Hangzhou sent him a lot of pork and wine. He sent all of it straight to the work sites to feed the workers. Along with the meat, he wrote a short note and left behind a famous line of instructions. Just use a slow fire. Add only a little water. Wait until it is done, then it will go well with wine. This is probably the closest thing we have to an official memo on how to cook Dongpo pork. After eating this pot of meat, the people of Hangzhou completely adopted it and turned it into a culinary symbol of their city. So you can say, Hangzhou gave it life, and Hangzhou gave it a name card. As the centuries went by, chefs kept refining and adjusting this dish, and different regional styles appeared. So where in China should you go if you want to taste Dongpo pork at its best? Actually, people cook Dongpo pork all over China, but 3 places have the strongest reputations. Huangzhou's Dongpo pork is the original style. It relies more on the salt and the pure flavor of the meat. It is not very sweet, and is closer to what Sushi himself probably cooked. Hangzhou's Dongpo pork has become the classic standard. Most historic restaurants around Westlake, like Lu, Wai, Lu, and Ziwei Guan, serve a sweet, soft version. The texture is like soft paper. It falls apart at one gentle touch. Maishan's Dongpo pork, from Sushi's home region in Sichuan, is the spiritual homeland of the dish. There, it leans toward Sichuan taste. It has a light hint of chili or spices. People there will tell you, when you eat Dongpo pork, you are really tasting the bold and down-to-earth spirit in the Su family's blood. After talking this much, maybe you have already noticed that Dongpo pork has long since become more than just food. It has become a unique symbol in Chinese culture. In literature, it stands for the taste and joy of a scholar's daily life. In painting, it appears as a still life subject, carrying meanings of plenty and harmony. On state banquet tables, it has become a delicious name card carrying the Chinese idea of balance and harmony. More importantly, on the dinner tables of ordinary families, when everyone sits around a pot of glistening, tender Dongpo pork, what is being shared is warmth, reunion, and a very real sense of happiness. So next time, if you order Dongpo pork in a Chinese restaurant, I hope you can proudly share a little of this story with the people at your table. From the ups and downs in Sudongpo's life to the 1,000-year journey of this one piece of meat, I hope that when you taste Dongpo pork in the future, you will not only enjoy its soft, sticky, rich flavor, but also taste the weight of history and a kind of open-hearted attitude toward life. Thank you for listening, and we will continue our story in the next episode.
sky in light. Nua healed the broken heart. Fuxi traced the world's design. Every age leaves stories bright. Yaya dynasty shaped bronze. Shang dynasty cast oracle bones. Thou dynasty built right. Qin dynasty forged the great walls. Han dynasty opened Silk Road winds. Three Kingdoms dynasty turned war to tales. Jin dynasty led ink and mountains bloom. Sui dynasty carved the Grand Canal. Tang dynasty crowned the world with art. Song dynasty raised learning's flame. Yuan dynasty swept the northern plains. Ming dynasty strengthened walls again. Qing dynasty closed an ancient end. Every age leaves stories bright. History and myth ignite in endless light. China's history moves in mystery through the night. Footsteps of this land enchant the world in light. Han dynasty opened Silk Road winds. Three Kingdoms dynasty turned war to tales. Qin dynasty led ink and mountains bloom. Sui dynasty carved the Grand Canal. Tang dynasty crowned the world with art. Song dynasty raised learning.